Happy Sunday evening and welcome to our children's bedtime story this evening. We're so glad each and every one of you joined us for our special story. Today's story is called The Badger's Perfect Garden, and it is a book from here in the library. It is written by Marsha Diane Arnold, so you can come in and check this book out. I picked this book this evening because we're getting very close to time to put seeds and plants in our gardens. And how many of you have already helped plant some things in your garden, whether it's your vegetable garden or your flower garden? We're going to talk about Badger and his perfect garden. So come along and read with me. One spring morning, Red Squirrel found Badger surrounded by dozens of jars. The jars were filled with seeds. The seeds looked hopeful, just like Badger. "What are you doing with all those seeds, Badger?" "Getting ready to plant. I gathered them late last summer and kept them in jars all through the fall and winter. Now I'm going to plant a perfect garden." Red Squirrel looked closer. "They're all different." "Yes, all kinds, green and brown, flat and round, bumpy and smooth, whirly curly and straight as my whiskers." "Where did you find them?" "Some from Weasel's garden, some from the wildflowers near Dormouse's home, some stuck themselves to my fur, and some floated in on the wind." "You have so many," said Red Squirrel. "You'll need help planting." Weasel brought his favorite rake. Red Squirrel helped Dormouse gather string. Badger studied his garden plan. "We have to make sure the ground is perfectly smooth," said Badger. Everyone weeded and raked. The earth was as smooth as the forest pond in winter. Badger pushed big sticks into the dirt. Red Squirrel and Dormouse stretched string between the sticks to mark the rows. "Be sure the rows are perfectly straight," said Badger. Weasel found a twig to make holes for the seeds. "Bumpy seeds in this row, round ones here. Keep the whirlies together," Badger directed. When the seeds were planted, Badger invited his friends to a celebration. Everyone enjoyed muffins and mulberry juice. Badger imagined the plants that would grow in perfect rows in his perfect garden. The next day the sky sent showers. Badger smiled. The day after that it sent heavy rain. Badger worried. After that it sent a downpour. Badger grabbed his umbrella and rushed outside. He ran up and down the rows, trying to cover his seeds. The rain kept pouring. Badger flung himself across the rows, doing his best to hold the earth together. Sticks and strings collapsed. The ground began to slide. "Ah!" Squirrel, Dormouse, and Weasel came running. "My beautiful seeds have washed away," Badger sniffled. "Seeds will float on the wind again when the sunniest days come," comforted Red Squirrel. "After the wild flowers bloom, there'll be seeds to collect," said Dormouse. "We can gather seeds when my vegetables ripen," said Weasel. "Collecting seeds is hard work, and besides, I'll have no perfect garden this summer," said Badger. Badger could not be consoled. He stayed in his house, busying himself with this and that. He painted, he stood on his head, he washed the floors, he laid in his chair, he slept in his bed, and he read books. One summer day, in the middle of his afternoon nap, Badger heard a clamoring at his door. "Badger, come look," cried Red Squirrel, Dormouse, and Weasel. "Your seeds found another place to grow." "Those can't be my seeds," said Badger, rubbing his eyes. "They're all mixed up." "They just rearranged themselves," said Red Squirrel. "If you hadn't planted them over there, they wouldn't be here." Badger stared at the hodgepodge of colors, the jumble tumble of shapes and sizes. They made him feel jumbly and tumbly too. It looks like a celebration. It's the most perfect garden of all. Because the friends loved celebrations, they ran into the garden for a hodgepodge of garden games, jumbly tumbly dancing, and muffins and mulberry juice. I hope you enjoyed our story, The Badger's Perfect Garden, and I hope you saw how beautiful the Badger's flower garden was, even with the strong winds and everything that came along. I think you will agree it's a beautiful, beautiful garden. So join us next week again when we read another story for bedtime story. But for tonight, my friends, good night. Sleep tight.